Now, it may sound like the Grinch trying to steal festive cheer, but it seems next year's power hikes could be eye-watering. Publication Engineering News is reporting that we could be in for really steep electricity hikes in April next year. They've looked at the submissions that Eskom has made to regulator NERSA and say the increases could amount to over 32%. But Eskom says it has only applied for a 20% hike. Let's get details now from editor Terence Creamer of Engineering News. Hello, Terence. So first off, either way, it's still incredibly steep, whether it's a 20% or a 32% hike. But why is your publication reporting that the actual increase application amounts to 32.5%? I understand you've had a look at the information from NERSA. What does it show?
No, that's correct, Sally. There are two documents out. There's the consultation paper out from NERSA, and there's the application that was submitted to NERSA by Eskom in June this year. And we're now going to go through a process of adjudicating that. They're both using the same formula. It's just that NERSA's figures include some of the figures that Eskom actually hasn't asked for at all in its application. These relate to regulatory clearing account figures that have not yet been approved by NERSA. And there's a large amount, 23 billion, that relates to the reversal of the NERSA taking off the government injection of 69 billion a few years ago. And the court said that needs to be added back in. Again, that's not in the Eskom application. So the formal application is definitely for 20.5% from Eskom. It's just that I think NERSA is alerting to the public to the fact that there are these unadjudicated regulatory clearing account amounts, as well as the fact that they still at some point need to abide by the court's decision to add back the equity injections onto Eskom's allowable revenue.
All right, so the basic application is for that 20%, but there's likely to be added costs, which the consumer will have to pay for. Explain, if you can, in simple terms, some of this additional cost. You mentioned an RCA, revenue clearing account. What exactly is that about?
So you know that we go through these regular tariff hearings where we have the whole country convening for a few days to debate Eskom's application, its revenue application. This time round, Eskom is applying for 293 billion rand. Now, if you use the NERSA documentation, which adds these unadjudicated amounts and the reversal of the equity injection that was disallowed in the last tariff period, then it rises to well over 300 billion rand. So these are big figures. But Eskom, I must reinforce, is not asking and is not expecting that 23 billion rand. In fact, there's 59 billion rand outstanding in terms of that court case. But there is a Supreme Court of Appeal hearing that still the date hasn't been set. NERSA has appealed, not so much the reversal in that 59 or the 69 billion being added back to Eskom's allowable revenue, but whether the judge erred and overstepped the mark in actually making a tariff determination last year. So that's really what the hearing is about. But Eskom says it will not expect anything of the sort until the court has actually heard the matter and sat. So it's discounted that additional 23 billion and therefore is emphasizing that it's only asking for the 20.5% increase. When I say only, that's a huge amount. And we're talking about a big step change in the tariff to about 161 cents a kilowatt hour from about 133 cents 60 currently.
Do you think that NERSA is going to approve this over 20% increase? Is it more than likely? And if so, is there a chance that it's going to be actually even higher than that for consumers? I'm trying to get a sense of what it means for us.
Well, we know traditionally NERSA doesn't give Eskom what it wants. What was different this year is that Eskom made this early application, as I said, in June, but it only got published last week. So we only had visibility last week. And the reason for that is that NERSA rejected that application on the 30th of September. And they said they wanted Eskom to reapply under a new methodology because the old methodology had expired. The problem is that they had not yet created or drafted a new methodology under which Eskom could apply, and they had only sort of approved principles that they wanted to be Eskom to use. So Eskom hurriedly took that to court, and on the 3rd of December, the court intervened quite assertively and said, no, NERSA must adjudicate at least 1 year of Eskom's tariff application, which was originally for 3 years, because there is no new methodology, and do it under the existing MYPD methodology. And that's why we are now having this very late scramble in the year to actually start the public consultation process, which is now formally underway and will continue into January with formal responses from the public open until the 14th of January. Then we'll have those traditional public hearings around the country between January 17 and 21 this year, again virtually because of the COVID issues. And then we'll have a final determination by NERSA on the 25th of February. So it's far too early to say what NERSA will decide. All we know and we have certainty about is that what Eskom has applied for and what how NERSA has responded to that application and some of the concerns it's raised. And we have a firm line in the sand, actually a court-ordered line in the sand, that NERSA must make a determination by the 25th of February so that we can have a legal tariff increase on the 1st of April, which looked very precarious just a few weeks back.
Are you saying that there is a very real possibility that we could be in for a hike of 20% come April next year, up to even 32%? Or do you think in reality NERSA is going to go nowhere near those figures?
Again, I think it's too early to judge. Eskom has a lot of regulatory clearing account applications outstanding. It's got this additional clawback that they need to make under the allowable revenue for this equity injection that was unlawfully not awarded to them by NERSA for the last tariff round. So there's an overhang on the tariff of about 100 billion that has been withheld from Eskom, some of it unlawfully, the court has already found. And then there's the regulatory clearing account adjudications that seem to have to still come. So there's a lot of anxiety about what this tariff could be. And it is going to be difficult to see a lot of wriggle room for NERSA this time, given that overhang, given the quality, it looks like, of the Eskom application, very thorough application. So I think we are in for a double-digit hike. Whether it's as high as 20%, I'm sure most South Africans would hope not.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Editor Terence Creamer of Engineering News.